Hey everyone, I thought it'd be fun to talk to my wife about starting businesses because we were both entrepreneurs when we first met, actually, before this little bundle of joy entered our lives, our greatest startup ever. We have to hold him for this because if one of us is not attached to him right now like Velcro, he will be kicking off in a room somewhere. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about why we started our first business. You know, was it passion? Was it rebellion? Was it because we didn't want a full-time job? What was it? And kind of discuss that just to help anyone out there, trying to figure out if they should start it or not. I think a lot of people know my story, TwoSpace, the co-working startup, turning restaurants into co-working spaces, which we can talk about, I guess. But I'd love to hear your story and you foodie. And why don't you tell us about that and how you started?
Sure. So,
And maybe did I say your name already?
you said I'm your wife.
Yeah, maybe introduce yourself as well. Just say your name at least.
But my name is Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
And YouFoodie. So YouFoodie was born for a bunch of reasons, really. So I know, often people look for this one North Star reason to do something, right? But I think YouFoodie was sort of a combination of things and an opportunity that allowed those things to sort of come together. So I had dabbled and spent a lot of time in hospitality prior to YouFoodie, and I saw a lot of people struggle in the industry. It's really hard to make good money in hospo and food and beverage. You have to be really passionate about it and really good at what you do, and not just from the hospitality side but from the business side. So part of YouFoodie was to help any food and beverage establishments really sort of kick ass at what they were doing, help them be profitable and help them grow their businesses, and feel really good about not just helping other people feel good with what they were providing, but that they could go home and have good lives and good experiences because they were profitable in their businesses. And the other piece was selfish. And I have an autoimmune condition. It means that my diet has to kind of play around, and it made it really difficult for me actually to go out and eat with friends and family or off the cuff on the fly, because I was one of those people and I hated being one of those people.
Okay. Why don't you hold him?
Lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever, and not be that person at the table that needed to ask if they could remove a whole bunch of stuff out of dishes or end up having to sit there eating a bowl of steamed broccoli just because there was nothing else on the menu that I could eat.
So it was a combination of, because of your experience in the industry, you saw a gap and a problem, but then you had, I guess, a personal problem that you wanted to solve as well. So which of those do you think drove you more? Or was it 50-50? Because I think a lot of people out there are trying to figure out, am I doing this for the right reason? Is a gap in the market enough for me to throw everything away and start this? Not that I'm saying that you need to throw everything away. I think there's lots of ways you could do it as a side hustle. Was it 50-50 or?
Honestly, I probably couldn't tell you which one was the stronger driver. I definitely wanted to give back to an industry that had supported me so much and given me a really great early career. So that was really important to me.
Yep.
And then more so than for myself, I realized that so many other people had the same problem going out to eat that I did. So it was to try and help other people who are in the same situation as me. And I just benefited from it because I had that experience to give them the opportunity to be able to enjoy going out for dinner with their friends or their family.
And you reckon because before this startup, you were actually one of the founding members for a big food brand, and you actually helped them raise tens of millions of dollars in capital. So you're very well versed and experienced in that whole investor experience. Did you ever consider funding for YouFoodie, or did you want to bootstrap it?
we wanted to just give it a red hot crack and see if it could do it itself. You know, if we were able to test the market and generate some revenue from doing that, and it would, you know, feed itself. That was the goal. If we got to a point that investment became an important consideration, I'm sure we would have done it. But at least initially, we were happy to try and bootstrap it and make it work for itself.
Yeah, because my story, we bootstrapped it. And if I'm going to be very honest, it wasn't because at the start, in hindsight, we were like, bootstrapping was the way. We actually thought about funding and started that journey, but then I realized it was taking up way too much of my time. I was spending more time trying to get funding from VCs
rather than working in the business.
Rather than working on my business. So then we figured out a way to exist without it, because we were very a low cost operating model. And that served us really well, because then we figured out ways how to grow and scale without someone else's money or without money, which when you think about is the best way to figure out how to scale. Because if you can do that without significant amounts of capital or money, then that's a great way to grow, because you can continue doing it. And when I started my business, I frankly think it was because we saw a huge gap in the market. My co-founder and I were like, hey, there's all these empty restaurants that people aren't using, even though they pay rent for the full day. Why don't we turn those into co-working spaces and build a community? And we had a lot of journeys and learnings on that, I guess, that whole experience. But it was really the excitement of doing that for me. It wasn't, I don't want to work full time or anything. It wasn't about money even. It was about going on this journey of trying to do something really fucking cool. And I think that is what drove me to continue doing it. So it's almost like, how do you tap into drive to keep going? How do you stick around and maintain grit? Because we both did our startups for like a long time without generating enough money to pay ourselves salaries. All of it went back into the business. So it's an interesting one, because I get approached by people all the time going, hey, I'm not sure if I should start a business. And my first question is, why do you want to start it? And sure, if you're a seasoned entrepreneur and you've got an exit strategy, fine. But if you're a first-time founder with an exit strategy, I already go, you're probably starting it for the wrong reasons, because it's going to take a lot longer than you think. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So if it's purely for an exit and money, you're going to give up pretty quickly.
I think something you and I have talked about before is maybe one of the reasons that we do what we do is the impact. Yeah. Like seeing what kind of impact we can have for others. You know, it's an advocacy, or, you know, it's to help bring awareness to a cause. You know, the really nice consequence of YouFoodie, of that transaction and that interaction between restaurants and anyone trying to eat out, was that you know, we got to help reduce food waste. So, you know, knowing that there was a bigger part to what we were doing was actually quite cool, that we could have that impact as well. So
okay, that's cool. I feel like I touch him and he cries. Oh. Okay, we're gonna wrap that. Sorry, buddy. Bye, everyone.